My name's Aaron Gregory and I just won Valvoline's 2020 Street Machine of the Year. Seeing you walk around the corner today was an absolute spin out, knowing that, you know, Street Machine readers have voted this out of the top 16 out of every car that's been in the magazine for 12 months, that this is the one that they've chosen to be their most popular, I suppose what I mean. Not a car that I built for trophies, not a car that I built to win accolades. It's just a car I built to drive and have ultimate fun in. So to be picking up stuff like this 8 years after I originally sort of got it out there blows me away. And then Ian and Scotty rocked up this morning. Conversation was going nowhere. I'm like, is something going to happen here? Like, what's going on? Yeah, and you walked around the corner. I'm like, this is pretty funny. I didn't expect to get nominated and I didn't expect to win, like, at all. So when I saw I was nominated and what cars I was up against, I'm like, I'm not going to win. I'm going to take the piss. Look at me driving to the supermarket. Look at me driving down a dirt road. Look at me getting the car filthy and using it all the time. Hey, Smoddy contenders, do you want to pick up some parts for you while I'm out? Hey, Smoddy contenders, do you want to pick up some toilet paper for you while I'm at the supermarket? So while I was taking the piss out of it, I wasn't going to win. At the end of the day, I think that's what potentially got me across the line, because the messages I've received from other people, it's like, I react to your car because you actually use it. And I think people still see Street Machine magazine as a street machine magazine for street driven cars. And that's what this was always built for, and that's still definitely what it gets used for. So I reckon that's what people have sort of grabbed onto this year is, you know what, he is driving it, he is using it, and it's a pretty cool looking thing for what it is. So I'll flick your vote, which has been rad. I guess, seen as the Australian street car Bible, you'd look at Torana's, EH's, Aussie Classics, V8s, big blowers hanging on the bonnet. So I just naturally thought, well, it's going to go to an Aussie Classic car. It's not going to go to an American. I'm not sure how many American cars have won the trophy in the past. So yeah, I didn't consider my chances that big. That's kind of why I took a little bit of piss out of it at the start with, but secretly I did want to win. It's been nice. All right, so if you're not familiar with the car, this was debuted at MotorX, I think 8 years ago, 2013. I started it back when I was living in Victoria, always meant to be a budget build. 89 Rodeo chassis, I brought a VP Commodore, pulled the engine and gearbox out of it, so it's just an injected 5 litre. Holden Rodeo, 200 bucks. I got the Chev body for 1,500 bucks. And I brought a genuine VP BT1 with Vic Roads manual and everything for 2 grand. And I just threw all 3 together. Real cheap and quick, and I moved to Sydney, chasing my now fiance, and started working at the chop shop, and things snowballed a little bit out of control there. I had a bet on with 2 mates that I could build the car for less than 10 grand. It's now potentially got more than 10 grand worth of paint on it, let alone the rest of the build. But it hasn't lost what it was originally built for. It was always meant to be a beater, park at the front of the supermarket car park. If there's a dirt road I've got to get from point A to point B, drive down the dirt road. Don't be scared to drive it when you need to. When my daily broke down, it was my daily for a few months and things like that. So it looks pretty on the outside, but it's still ultimately a driver that you can use and abuse. And again, that's probably why I didn't think I had a chance at winning this, because I do use it and abuse it and don't look after it like some other people would with their cars that were up for contention. So that's probably why this is cool as well. I guess its evolution over the past 8 years was, as I was building the car, I brought a set of billet wheels real cheap, and straight away billet wheels make it a Street Machine or a MotorX someone else's car, right? So I'd end up with a shiny paint job, shiny billet wheels. The car was extremely rushed to get it to MotorX that year. So it had the big drawn out tailgate and the high tub and all green with leather interior and stuff like that. Kind of got away from what I originally built the car for. It was originally just meant to be matte black, 15-inch steelies and just a beater. So I guess over the 8 years, it gets a scratch, or it gets used and abused, and it gets a bit dirty, so you're like, it's slowly starting to turn into what I want. So then chop the roof off it, do the 3-inch roof chop that I always wanted to do back then. The tub was kind of high and a bit dicky because it got to 3 AM in the morning, you know, the week before MotorX, and the tailgate was made. We don't have time, just run with that tailgate. I'm like, the car's been on the road 5 years now, let's cut the tailgate off and try something else and make it more what I want again. And obviously the boat building came from my racing of boats. I've always had this racing background, so the car was always going to start edging towards more of a race car thing, and autocross pro touring stuff in the States takes off. So that's what this thing is now slowly starting to morph more and more into, is a bit more of a track car than just a fat hot rod cruiser. I'm not a traditional car guy. Like I've been around cars since I was young because my parents and stuff were always into it and Dad was always in the shed building something. But I'm not someone who's been working on cars since the age of 8 or in the shed with Dad since the age of 12, just working on cars. I raced sailing boats competitively as a teenager, did year 12, did my apprenticeship and 8 years in boat building, doing my Cert 3 certificate in composites and all that sort of stuff. I sailed in the World Championships over in Canada, and there was a laid out Chevy Silverado in the car park at this yacht club of all places over in Canada, and probably didn't do as well at the World Championships as I probably thought I would. And this car was in the car park. I'm like, that's badass. I think I want to do a car. Came back, Dad's like, well, let's build a car then. So built this Holden Rodeo, met a few mini truck guys. A couple of mini truck guys in Melbourne were working at the Holden Design Studios building concept cars that you see at Detroit and Paris Motor Show and things like that. And they're just fiberglass cars on steel floor pans. So they poached me out of boats to go build fiberglass bodies for these concept cars. So I was really thrown in the deep end. Like, these are boats, these are $2 million, you know, top of the echelon show cars they'll be seen by every goddamn magazine and journalist under the sun. So that was a real, you're now up here type thing in terms of what cars can look like. So that was I'm pretty sure that was the changing point. The boats really stopped, started building fiberglass cars. The cars needed welding and grinding for roll cages and stuff like that. And that was really the turning point from boats to cars, and they were literally upside down boats as cars, you know what I mean? And that was the first. So I was only like 22, 23 years old when I picked up a welder for the first time and started dabbling in this stuff. I worked at DW Customs after Holden in Melbourne under Chad Ford, and he's a architectural designer, so he's looking at details and drawings and things like that and thinking outside the box to make things cooler and more efficient. Moved to Sydney. Laurie then poached me. I need to get a HR done for MotorX. We've got 1 week and I just need a hand to get it done. No full-time jobs, just come and help me out for a week. Went and worked there for a week and he said, you're not going back to your old job, you're staying here forever. Righto. So I was at the chop shop for 4 years. This came up from Ocean Grove to get finished and obviously built a few cars there, and I suppose Henry Parry's FB was the peak of what we did there at the time. Massive inspiration. I wouldn't be where I was without Laurie. It's a really situation we all went through. After all that went down, I actually went landscaping for a while just to get as far away from cars as I could. A few cars went into storage. And Chris with the HT and Jono with the Escort were like, what do we do with our cars? We're sort of halfway through the build at the chop shop, because Laurie and I are really good backboards. He had an idea and I had an idea, and the cars just became really cool. So the Escort and the HT was sitting there half built, and it's like, what do we do now? Like, the cars went at a stage where they could go to a shop and be built by anyone. And I was speaking to Damo, Chubby, and he's like, I've got a storage shed sitting there full of cars, and it's not, you know, it's not paying for itself. So if you want, I'll move all the cars out and you can use the shed there to finish off what you need to. So my main push for getting back into the cars after everything that happened was to get Jono's Escort and the HT finished. Escort's done, HT's at paint, which is kind of cool because I'm retiring once those 2 cars are finished. But I've been in here in this shed for 5 years now, worked by myself, 3 cars at a time, a couple of short-term and long-term projects. And I'm slowly backing myself into this niche after the Escort of way more autocross pro touring driver, use and abuse cars rather than wrap them in cotton wool and only drive them once every 6 months, because that doesn't do it for me. I want to, this is what's fun for me. Just get out and drive it and thrash it. If it gets stone chips, whatever, it's a car, it's not a boat. I can't leave it alone. I get bored real easy, and I definitely can't dedicate the time to building another car from scratch, from fresh. And like Laurie always said that, because this was sort of built on company time back in the day too. Yeah, don't sell it because you'll never find this time in your life ever again to build something for yourself. So I guess going back to the boat building and sailing days, you're always sort of planning 3 steps ahead, whether it's tactic-wise, race-wise, or with a boat, you know, everything goes into resin and takes 24 hours to set. So if you don't get it right, you've lost a whole day. So you've got to plan ahead. So, you know, making the tub, drive in, get the tub built, drive it back out again, drive in, do the roof chop, do it 2-tone, so you're not trying to blend in the doors and doing way more bodywork than you need to. Tape it off, 2-tone it, drive it in, drive it out. And again, the car started off as a bit more of a street machine, which wasn't really what I wanted with the car. I wanted more of a beater hot rod, but now that I'm like, The Escort's been a real pivot point for me. Like Jono's like, make it a race car, just make something rad. And now I'm like, oh, I kind of want a race car too now. So that's what this is slowly turning into. Really like to thank Street Machine Magazine and Valvoline especially for putting all this together. Like I think it really lifts car builders in the country to really have a crack, want to get into the magazine, and then once you're in the magazine, like, can I have a crack at this versus whatever other 16 have been chosen. Obviously, fiance Mia, she's the one who lets me stay here stupid hours every week getting this stuff done and sneakily sneak stuff on this as well. Scotty from Oxtec, Chubby from Low Fab for putting me up in here, and yeah, Broads, and you guys who, you guys staying close with everyone, photographers like Maddie and stuff over here as well, staying friendly and approachable makes people want to try and get to the magazine as well, because I want to hang out with the cool dudes too, you know what I mean? So, Laurie Starling, of course, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't know the people I know, be to the shows I've been to, and got to where I am without Laurie at all. So I've really got to thank him. Car Club, Negative Camber, all the boys and girls in there who keep us on the straight and narrow and wanting to be better people as well. All my family and friends who have been here today and pulling this massive sneaky on me, because yeah, not expected and not, yeah, I did not see this one coming. So this is an absolute ball terror. I'm stoked. Thank you.
Good on you, mate. That's awesome.
Sick.